call this meeting to order. And we'll start with the review of the minutes from June 14th.
Motion that we accept the minutes presented for May 10th, 2018 planning board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did you say May 10th?
Oh, it says May 10th right here.
Did I give you the wrong ones?
No, I said June 14th. That was silly of me because it's June. Oh, it was June.
It
That is
should be
correct.
It is
June.
June 14th.
It is.
14th,
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
I
need to,
have June 14th.
I have June 14th.
oh, June 14th approval, oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah, June
How did
14th,
somebody have
2018.
May?
Yeah,
Ah,
Yeah, or
it's
June.
July.
it's July, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what happens when you have too much.
The meeting did happen on the 14th.
Yeah.
And at that time, we did review May 10th. And it is now July 12th. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. All right. For new business this evening, we have a public hearing to receive comment, consider approval of a daycare application from Nicole Plord and Nicholas Plord for a daycare at 40 Russ Street. I declare that hearing open. Does anyone in the public have any comment to make?
The only comment I have is I'm in support of it. This is certainly needed daycare.
And you are, sir?
A Brent Ford.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public portion of the hearing is closed. 1 minute later.
Mr. Chair, the code enforcement finds this application to be complete and certainly appropriate. I have heard from the Department of Health and Human Services regarding this permit. They said everything's on track. They've not done their inspections yet, but everything is looking good with this permit. So it's our recommendation that we pass this on the condition that DHS does their, and the fire marshal does their inspections and our licensure is complete.
If I could just add my own comment to that, I spoke with the child care licensor, Bethany County,
Yep.
just this morning, and they have preliminarily set up to have an inspection done next Thursday, pending that the fire marshal gets in there before she does.
Well, I hope so. I'm sending people to you already.
Yeah. So, well, some kids that I currently nanny for that are going to be coming to the daycare, they wanted you to meet them. So they made some self-portraits. They wanted you guys to meet who they were.
Can we admit
Oh
that?
my goodness. that's
Some-
great.
Absolutely.
So this is Connor.
This is Tanner.
This isn't a bribe, right?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
That's sweet. That's great. Lennox was at her Grammys today, so she didn't get a chance
She
to
didn't
meet
get
for that.
You know, our kids, that age, all draw people the same way.
Very nice.
Yep.
That's cute.
Very good.
Oh, he's gonna be a runner.
Oh yes, he has a basketball on his shirt. He says, and he goes to the rec.
Yeah.
He's pretty excited about that. Every day he has to have some type of ball on his shirt.
That's good.
Yes. Thank
Any
you.
comments from the members of the board?
The only thing that I want to, make notice that is Nick is an employee of mine, so it won't hinder my judgment at all, but I just letting it be out there.
Okay, it's good to have that known. I don't see that as a conflict.
That's why you wear the same shirts.
Behind the podium, I didn't even
It doesn't say Todd, does it?
No, that's all.
Should have recognized you and I didn't. Shame on me. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve with conditions.
Make a motion to approve the Miss Cole Kids Daycare with the conditions that the DHHS and the fire marshal approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Appears unanimous. Okay,
And if you would, There's the original first.
Yeah, we do the signatures right now, get them done.
Would you like me to send copies of the past inspections once they've occurred?
Absolutely, yes.
Yep, I will be sure to do that.
Remember to state that.
Yeah, okay.
Are the conditions in the document that we're signing?
No, it's got a place for conditions written below that.
You will, okay. That's your signature.
Symmetrical.
Yeah.
You guys are free to leave if you want.
Good luck with everything, too.
Right, thank you very much.
exciting.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Good luck. Did we conduct our vote? Everything went all right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was unanimous.
It's unanimous.
Very good. And our second new business this evening would be the daycare application of Devin Robinson for Miss Devon's Daycare on 17 Violet Street. Ms. Robinson gave us a very complete permit. I was impressed with how complete, most complete one I've ever seen. And so we need to schedule a public hearing for this permit as well.
It's kind of the same thing we just did with the floors.
Exactly.
R1.
So we just need to move for the public hearing?
Move for
We
the
just need
hearing.
to set a public hearing date.
Let's schedule it for August, right?
Yeah. it'd be
Second.
what?
Did you made a motion?
Yeah, somewhat raised my hand.
Do you need it in
The
full?
date would be
The next meeting.
the 9th.
I don't care if you don't.
I think it's the 9th.
August 9th.
The ninth it will be.
That satisfied the 4 weeks or whatever.
It's in fact exactly 4 calendar weeks.
Did we vote on the motion?
Not yet. Thank you. Did we have a second?
Todd?
I second.
Okay, then, all in favor? It's voted. Hearing on the 9th.
Very good. The new communications I have are actually so new that they just happened this afternoon. I'll be talking to some people about possible permits for a storage facility. Basically, they called looking for advice on permits, where they could build, the zone they're looking at, and so we're short of public storage space in the city, so
Yeah, we
this
are.
would be a good project.
As an aside, I know this question now pertains to something that's actually happening in Presque Isle. But do you know anything about that big flat land clearing that's happening just north of the trailer park?
Yeah.
It's football field.
Is that gonna be a football field?
I've heard that it may indeed be a football field.
Okay,
They're
I was just
going
awful
to be pretty
curious.
close to the vest because they haven't advertised it, and I don't know who's funding it, because usually there's a big sign that goes out,
Yeah.
this project by such and such a bank or such and such an organization, so.
Well, hasn't there been a football league
There is.
Oh, yeah, there's a
in
youth.
Rustic
Yeah.
for a
Quite
couple
some time.
decades?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to practice down on Simcoe.
Okay, I was just
So word
curious.
has it, there might be just a rumor.
Yeah.
Heard a couple
Whatever
different
they're doing,
ones,
it's
so.
awful flat, so. Okay,
Well, most football fields, that's a desirable trait.
oh, I don't know. Any other
Oddly enough,
communication?
they tried another location and they had zoning issues.
Not too far down from there.
Yeah,
Really?
so,
I remember that.
interesting
It's
site.
a nice looking piece of land.
A lot of nice dirt on it, too.
I was gonna say,
Exactly.
nice loom.
They want to get rid of that fill. Everybody
Okay,
know.
all right,
Oh, that's-
all right, we're out of
Anyway.
control here. I'm sorry I asked the question. Any other new communications, Ken?
No.
Okay. Staff report.
Staff report, it turns out the summertime is very busy with things like notices of violations. We did 15 new notices last month, and we perfected the notices we worked on previous to that. We've actually had to sticker a couple buildings in that we marked them unsuitable for human habitation, and emergency measures that should either be repaired or tore down. One on Hillcrest, 7 Hillcrest, and one on I think it was Fenderson. I should have that written in front of me. Basically, it's kind of grown over. It's gone unnoticed, but the roof is caved in. And we've sent a notice to the owner, and we stickered the building. And for the other new ones, it runs the gamut. Exterior structure, siding falling off the houses, garbage, vehicles, high grass.
Mhm.
So it's just that time of year. So I won't read them all to you.
Is one on Glen Street?
No,
There's not one on Glen Street? Okay.
not that I've given notice to. Can you think of one?
Well, there's one that, I almost think it's on the corner. You got Glen and the, if you're going down Glen, let's see, you go
Under
past, pardon?
Is it Pilgrim or?
Well, you go past West Wind, and then it's the corner before the next one.
Oh,
There's 2 cars in the yard that have grass 3 feet tall all around them. Trailer, it looks like a junkyard. It would be on the west side.
I think I know the one. But we'll go take a look.
Kind of an eyesore right smack in a nice area. Anyway,
I think I know the one, yeah. We'll go take a look at that one. That would be... Yes. Last name escapes me. And it's hard to go out somewhere without seeing another one.
Yeah.
Once you see it, you cannot see it. Land use permits, of course, we've talked to Jamie Parity and a new business that's down on Bennett Drive, Majestic Enterprises. He sells beauty products to licensed beauticians. He's up and running. Sign up.
Great.
Looks nice and neat down there. We're going to do a ribbon cutting with Mr. Parity. And Nicole Floor, we just spoke with this evening. We've had our fill of meetings this past month with, of course, the planning board. I sat in for the manager at NMDC executive board meeting and also the annual meeting. I sat in the environmental review workshop at NMDC. I sat in the Timber Utilities trustees meeting. Very interesting stuff. Sat in the first airport committee meeting before they actually set up the new board. Tri-Community Landfill. And the staff quarterly luncheon where we had an active shooter presentation, which was also very interesting. The training for this month was lawful hiring and workplace violence. My building code studies is ongoing. And that's pretty much my report for this month.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I had another off-the-wall question. Did I read correctly in this week's local paper that the High Street repair has been put off a year?
Yes, you heard correctly. Due to a late start in the bidding process, I'm told, we got behind the contractors. Contractors are already busy, so the bids came in extremely high, approximately $500,000 higher than projected. What we hope to see happen this year is some shimming and paving to get us through the winter. And hopefully we'll get an early start next year, catch those contractors before they're booked up.
They're gonna have to do it next summer anyway, because it's gonna be reconfigured as part of the school construction.
Most of that work will be down on the Bennett Drive end.
Yeah. But I don't imagine they wanna get into the pavement twice.
Well, the issue here, of course, is the crowding and running going on
Yeah.
along High Street. You can actually lose control of your vehicle coming across there, both coming over the humps and hydroplaning. And when the plow hits that now, it leaves 6 inches of slush because there's no way to scrape it off the road.
I'm surprised, the pavement, which is apparently defective, which is causing the dips.
The pavement is actually designed to reseal itself. In the old days, there was a large, a different design of pavement. It was very dense bituminous concrete in the days, wasn't meant to bend. Now it's meant to reform in the heat. So if you get minute cracks, it seals itself up to some extent. They call it super pave. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is it actually wears out. It'll wear in a travel lane so that you can see down through layers of pavement.
Or that it's soft enough.
Or
that
it's soft enough
It's
to
soft
mold.
enough that it gets pushed to the sides and the center.
So it's, I don't know. Of course, in the old days, they used to do things like put asbestos in it to make it a little bit more rugged, so.
Okay, well, just wanted to confirm that I had read that correctly. Too bad.
Yeah,
So-
we'll shoot again, hopefully earlier in the spring and get a better bid.
Is the plan to fill those dips before winter?
They're gonna have to do some level of shimming if they hope to put some hot top and get us through the winter. It didn't sound like they want to be grinding on it.
All right. What do we have, if anything, for planning board training?
Well, we're still considering our definitions for land use that we started. So, the agricultural sales and service, the music facility, music park, and assisted living facilities. We kind of put that out there at the last meeting, but we didn't act on it. If we need to go back and do a little bit more work, we can do that. What I did, I'll repeat what I said last month, I guess, is what I did is I tried to keep it concise, but at the same time elaborate more about the land use. The longest one, of course, is the assisted living facility. That's a more complex issue, so somewhat longer. It also will lead to having to research. I mean, we can use the land use description, but a person should go look for the legal definitions as well. So large healthcare facility, for instance, healthcare facility with more than 16 beds, there's other qualifiers. I'm sure Phil knows more about this than I do.
I was gonna say, do you have a copy of that? Spare copy? Or is this, are you referring to what you gave out last month?
It is what we gave out last month, but I can make sure that I can send it out again.
I'm trying to find it, I thought I had it in the... I wish I had a better file.
I wasn't here last month, so I don't think I bothered to print the...
I'll forward it up to you.
Okay, so this is an old agricultural business person list, and that's a new one that we got today.
Yes, we have perfected our list of agricultural farmers list. And that's something that we hope to pull together some sort of workshop with our agricultural community later in the season.
I think before we even do that, we need to get Dennis back in here and really see what,
Find out what he has in mind.
yeah, because I'm still fuzzy on this whole agricultural deal. And how this is gonna even benefit farmers in this community. I did talk to Emily and from Smith's,
Mhm.
and they don't have any land that would be anything for the security. They rent, so we can strike Smith's right off there. And upon talking to her, Presque Isle has an agricultural use zone, so what are they doing as part of that? I don't want to reinvent the wheel, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you about getting the manager back in, because I'm thinking to myself, what is the purpose of agricultural zoning? Is it to protect agriculture from encroachment, like somehow heading off urban sprawl or suburban sprawl?
Yeah.
There are preservation efforts out there to,
Yeah.
save the farming community.
As opposed to trying to say, okay, here's what you can do in an agricultural zone. I mean, you can farm,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure what it's going to do for it.
There's got to be a healthy balance between urban sprawl and agricultural land. There has to be a healthy balance in any municipality in order for it to grow and build and be successful. Same thing in agriculture. You need land. You don't have land, you don't have crops, you don't have agriculture.
Right.
So,
Well, currently, we call everything outside the urban compact areas in R3. It really doesn't define agriculture in any way.
Yeah, but are we trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist?
Perhaps.
Was what I'm getting at.
I'll do that. I'll let Dennis know we'd like to talk some more about the agri zone, and also I'll check. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I can talk to the code enforcement officer from Presque Isle, see if I can get some verbiage from there.
Would it protect things like subdivision? Would it protect from putting it on farmland, or a football field being built on farmland? I mean, things like that. Is that
Exactly.
what?
That's what I don't know.
That would be my understanding, but.
and then if a piece of farmland became untillable for whatever sort of reason, no one ever knows the future in agriculture. You don't know what type of pests or diseases are going to pop up. So what if a piece of land becomes unusable? Now, well, shoot, we can't put a subdivision on it, or shoot, we can't do this, we can't do that. What's it going to take to backtrack a little bit in order to actually make this piece of land a usable piece for this municipality? It's possible.
Thanks, Todd. But on the other side, I mean, is some of the land up here an investment where maybe they could potentially sell it? So how do we manage that to save the land but also protect the farmers'
Yes.
life? I don't know. I guess that's a question to, what are they looking at?
Because I think what we're trying to do is look out for the farmer's best interests in doing this. And if we're not doing that, we just keep it the way it is. I think that's, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I think that's in my mind. If it benefits the farmer, okay, let's see what
I'll
they
invite the
say.
manager back, and we'll have a more in-depth conversation about and there are several different designs around the state. Some are actively protecting farmland from development. Others are, as you're saying, they're just looking at subdivision laws and things like that. So,
But the risk that the landowner is gonna put it to some use that doesn't benefit them is pretty slim.
Yeah.
Well, that's just, they own the land.
very good.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the input. So are we down to discussion of tiny house movement?
Yes, and this is kind of an interesting conversation in that this is out on people's listservs. Everyone's talking about tiny houses right now. Unfortunately, the legislature failed to pass any kind of legislation regarding tiny houses. What the sample I sent along was actually, they let it die. So it was never voted on. It is not our law. However, many states are starting to pay attention to these tiny house because we're seeing tiny house subdivisions. So in the state of Maine, we can treat tiny houses as if they were mobile homes, or another way to look at it is kind of like a auxiliary dwelling unit. So like a mother-in-law's house or something like that, an apartment. There's a movement all across the United States And the reason this comes to light in Caribou is because it's already been discussed in a couple different conversations that I would like to have a tiny house subdivision in my back court.
Well, how tiny does it have to be?
So 400
Less than
square feet.
less than 400.
400 is what was in there.
400 is kind of like a
20 by 20.
baseline.
Oh, wow.
That's
You
getting
need at
almost-
least 400 square feet for the first person, and then you can size it up from there.
Because they'll put lofts in there with,
They'll have a loft, yeah.
With the loft, it just says here on the first floor is 400 square feet, so you could still have a loft, which
Right.
would add square footage, but it wouldn't count. That base.
the thing with that is that, and from the shows that I've watched on TV, there's a ladder going up to that loft. How sturdy is that ladder, and is that gonna be safe for a firefighter or EMS to be able to get up that ladder?
Is it on wheels? Does it have its own septic field and well? There are things to consider when you're looking at tiny houses.
It's not all that different than a camper or a mobile home. Somewhere between a camper and a mobile home.
I've seen tiny houses on wheels, okay, which obviously is some kind of a mobile home. But I've also seen tiny houses that are there, period, they're planted, they're not meant to be mobile.
There's a pretty good example right on the Fort Road. It's actually a classmate of mine built himself a small, it's a tiny house.
Yeah.
Very well done, it's on a slab, he's got his septic and well, nice looking little set of buildings.
Right, it's a tiny building, but it's on a regulation-sized lot, so,
That's the other thing.
What are the
So,
implications?
what are we gonna do for lot sizes?
yeah.
So
But if
then,
you have a subdivision, this is interesting, because if you have a subdivision of tiny homes, you have such a great density of residential development that it actually pays for the infrastructure in that subdivision. You know what I mean? You gotta maintain that road and that sewer line and all that stuff.
That's if they're on a
So
sewer.
if we have a subdivision and the lots are all 1 acre, it's not necessarily true.
do you think they put a tiny home in a 1 acre lot?
It makes no sense.
But I'm thinking that the movement for tiny homes mainly is because it's an economical way to go.
So,
There are gonna be people that wanna build a camp-like building in the back 40.
what I worry about is down the road, 30 years, 35, 40 years, this thing's still gonna be around. And if so, now the municipality all of a sudden has a huge subdivision that they gain control of, and they have a whole bunch of tiny homes.
Yeah.
I get that it appeals to a certain group of people, and that's all fine and good. You know, live the way you want to, but you know what's going to happen. What do you
Well,
do then?
I don't know if it's necessarily, you know where the intersection of the Buck Road and the West Prescal Road?
Yeah.
The stomping grounds, yeah.
That little green house, is it green?
It was, but he tore it down and built another, put a modular in, a small module.
I don't know if I'm talking about,
Who is that?
I know exactly.
I'm talking on the corner.
Yeah, there's like a little pipe that comes out of the ground that has water there, and
There's a little,
a little stream.
well, whatever, but I'm thinking, my point is, small houses have been around for a long time.
Absolutely.
Just because they call them tiny houses now.
Yeah.
I mean, people have built, one-room houses many, many years ago, or two-room, or three-room, or whatever. And it's an economic thing, you know, they don't have money to do anything else.
Well, we don't have zoning that says how big your house has to be. We have zoning that says how big your lot has to be. See, the impetus for a tiny home is to be able to build a residence in a dense area, a dense urban area, and modify lot size requirements so it's economical to do that. And again, smaller lots, higher density, easier to support the infrastructure. Again, is spending a lot of time on tiny lot zoning, trying to solve a problem that Caribou doesn't have.
I was about to say, do we have any
Yeah,
dense urban area in Caribou?
We've actually identified city-owned lots that would be suitable for that kind of development.
How wide are they? Are they 75 feet?
Not single lots, large areas, so that would be subdivided into these.
Oh,
Um,
So
how many-
we haven't defined how big that lot has to be.
In an acre, how many
Not in the
could you
code.
put? I mean, if we're talking numbers.
An acre is pretty big.
In the city right now, you can put 4 houses in an acre and they don't have to be tiny houses.
So they,
Acre is a big piece of land.
It is,
If
but
you,
that's-
if you
I
have
mean-
city sewer and water available, you don't have to have the larger lots to accommodate
Right.
your infrastructure.
You gotta look at an acre, 42,560 square feet in that 1 acre. So yeah, you could, and we're talking about 400 square feet.
So we
The
would,
house.
we would be thinking about lot frontage, because you have, you know, you have to park a car, or your garage might be larger than your house in that case.
it's hard to picture that catching on, other than like
You know.
the Veterans Project, or
Yeah.
if somebody wants to do like a nursing home and
Yeah.
build it close to the grocery store.
But the idea is we have no provisions in our code book to address that kind of density in construction. And it goes deeper in that, versus we've never really solved the whole thing, as far as, you know, we can do duplexes and things like that, but we can't do condominiums. We don't really have any provisions for a condominium. So is that a subdivision? Is that a house that we're selling rooms from sheetrock to sheetrock? We really don't.
So,
And we have different housing systems that aren't really to code when you consider a move-out. For instance, a Ward log cabin might not meet the code because it's hard to insulate a log cabin. But their system is engineered, so is that a modular home? Is that a constructed home that comes to us and they say that we have to approve it? I've heard of one just today, the fellow wants to build a post and beam using a panel system. So what do I look for as a code enforcement would be, okay, what's your truss system? He says, well, there's massive purlins that hold the load from the roof. Well, I would have to see an engineer seal on it. But these are designed homes, these are building systems.
right, but if it's a pre-designed home, some engineer must have stamped it at the beginning.
And the state says those are suitable. So,
So-
on one hand, they're giving, they're holding the move back up on one hand, they're saying, oh, wait, this will do.
Well, and let's face it, the snow load downstate to the snow load up here is different.
So that conversation regarding tiny houses led itself down all these avenues as I was getting my notes together. So it's an interesting conversation and something that we can't solve tonight. But it's something that just over the horizon, we're gonna have to come up with. a
What
solution.
about egress in these houses? I mean, we already have codes for egress windows and all of that stuff.
Exactly right.
They're gonna have to fall under that as well in this municipality. Right. Sometimes I wish I could build a
A lot of
tiny house,
details to figure out.
you know?
Well, you've got room to put one.
Yeah, but the kids would come and they'd find me.
So anyway, that's kind of my discussion about tiny houses. Again, the state hasn't given us any guidance here yet. And really the only states that do are like California, Florida.
Well, that's where a postage stamp lawn
Places where the
lot
density
costs $1
merits.
million,
Yeah.
you know. Should you, or do you have a list of issues? I mean, you just rattled off a bunch of things like condominiums and stuff like that that our zoning doesn't address. Do you have a shopping list of issues that we should get to
What I
eventually?
propose to do is exactly like you said, is I'm gonna make a shopping list, I'm gonna go looking for statutes for each. Because I know that they've already tackled this in Presque Isle, for instance, they've got a condominium type development. in
No,
Presque
we've
Isle.
certainly built some.
Well, can't we plagiarize?
Absolutely.
Of course you
I mean, we've been working on this chapter 13 for 2 years now, haven't we?
Oh,
Right.
more than
can.
two.
More than that.
Yeah, it's been a while, so.
And really,
Yeah, true.
that document will change forever. I mean,
But at
that's
some
kind of-
point, we have to
But
present
we
one to city
should,
council.
yeah, we should get something
Yeah, we should do something.
and then work on the smaller stuff after. We haven't even looked at a map for, the zoning map for ever.
Months.
Yeah,
Well, that's one of those things you wanna get your land use now. Before you go to your zone.
that's why we should tackle my opinion, we should tackle what we've got on our plate now,
Mm.
get that done, and then
Finish.
go back to
Yeah.
these other issues that we.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm not suggesting we tackle them now, but.
No, but I think we need to,
As you run into things that, oh gee, we don't have anything that addresses this, let's put it on the future to-do list.
I actually mentioned to Denise earlier, I said, I foresee this being a snowy February day project. As I go down through this shopping list and find the appropriate statutes or already, someone else's code book that already addresses it. We'll start.
Yeah,
In the meantime,
We'll start with soup and go to nuts.
I'd somehow like to see this board finish massaging the land use table and stop adding, it's suffering from feature creep right now.
Is there any way we can put a deadline on ourselves and say, okay, by December,
well,
we have something to present?
we had a number of issues with turnover of staff, okay, and then there have been some, I know of at least one workshop that I thought we had, that there was only 2 or 3 of us that were here.
Yeah, nobody could make it.
And, and so anything that was discussed is kind of a waste of time because it's gonna have to be discussed again. But we need to go back to scheduling some workshop days or whatever.
I think that the chapter 13 text is in pretty good shape. I think the zoning map is in pretty good shape. I think the land use table is not such good shape because there are so many uses that don't have definitions. And I think that's where, if we could plug those holes, then
And if we add to those, for instance, with the agri zone,
well,
That changes your
I'm
vote.
gonna say, unless somebody can come up with a compelling reason we have to deal with that right now, I'm gonna say, well, all right, put that on the to-do list for futures.
but
Something we can
I
add.
think we've been talking about the rewrite of chapter 13 for way more than 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to present a package to city council.
yeah, the deadline on the land use table could be the very same deadline as the zoning map. Look, they go hand in hand.
My concern is, or question, I guess, if we bring this to the city council and they approve it, but then what if the next big thing is not tiny houses, it's something else? Do we have to go through this all again, or could
No,
we make
not-
an amendment to add
You
this?
can always
and
do
that?
amendments.
So if we are comfortable with something that we could present to the board, and if we're not quite ready for that agricultural thing, we could say, all right, next month we're gonna revisit this, let's add it. So if we are confident with what we have, I'm not saying tonight, but come November, could we have a package that's doable, that is presentable, that is what we would like to see for Caribou, and then say, okay, yeah, let's do this tiny home thing, let's add the agri thing, let's add this next thing that's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I'd really like Mr. McDonough to be here for part of the land use table discussion because of all of us, he's the one that's most focused on the definitions thing.
Okay. So you want to take a stab at a deadline, or you want to say 2000?
No, I think we just need to make it a priority and plug away at it, because I think a deadline is useless if you're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna, I don't wanna compare us to Congress in that nothing gets done,
Thank you.
but,
Just did.
I don't like artificial deadlines that, we just plug away at it as best we can.
I think we need to look at the map again, and I think we need to look at definitions, and we should do that at the next meeting. That's my opinion.
If we were a board of professionals, we'd probably have a specific method that we approach this from. On any given day, we could say we're 45% done because we go from here to here to here. And we don't really do that. Sometimes we get bogged down and resolve grammatical issues by committee. We're really inefficient and then we get way off track. But if we had if we started by adopting a particular method and we knew how far we had left to go, and we, you know, we do these big picture issues and then refine, but not shoot off into refining while we're still forming the big picture one, we'd probably knock this out really quick.
Ken, how hard would it be to go through the proposed land use table? We'll leave the agricultural column aside for now, but there is this great big, I've got it in my sack somewhere, proposed land use table. And is there any way you can go through that and say, all right, these are the 15 uses that don't have any definition, and we need to focus on that? Or so that we can know
What we've
where
been
we're at.
doing.
Yeah. Well, we need to wrap that up, is what I'm saying.
Okay, we'll bring that in a package to the next meeting, and the latter part of our meeting will be a workshop about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That works.
The hearing will be short. We know of no other things that are coming up so far, so we can dedicate some time to ticking off some line items. But otherwise, we're just gonna say, okay, yeah, that's the table, but we don't know anything about
I mean,
how to
if
use
we
it.
had a good draft that we could go to city council with, and then we can start, okay,
Adding.
do we need to address this one now, or can that wait
Well,
for
we
an
can't go
amendment?
to city council without having our own public hearing first.
No, but I'm just saying, that once we get this document, chapter 13, to where we're ready, can we look at it and say, okay, what do we need, what's priority? Should we nail out some of these other things and then get those accomplished? And then get
We
that
have something
passed?
to-
Yeah, try to get the priority stuff done first, I guess. We've been working on chapter 13 a long time.
Yeah.
Well, we just need to bring to them what we can. Without, I agree, that we're not gonna, let's not muddy the waters with tiny houses and agricultural.
I don't think we can even have pride in our own public hearing if we present something to the public that doesn't have definitions nailed down. So we've got to
So
get
let's
that
do
job
that.
done. We've got to get
Let's
that
do
job
that.
done.
I mean, right now, we're spot zoning,
Yeah.
really, spot
We
zoning
gotta
these
stop
other
doing that.
these other deals to make this happen.
Now,
But
some
after
changes-
chapter 13 happens, it's gonna be all
Some
right
changes,
anyway.
some changes that are on the new map have already gone to city council
Right.
and been approved.
Right.
So it's not a total loss, but we need to wrap it up.
We almost ought to, like, agree on what we're, you know, sometimes we get into these discussions and some nights when we're talking about it, it feels like, geez, we shouldn't do, like, let's be practical, do we really need this regulation, do we really need that? And then other nights when we're having these discussions, really trying to feels like we're trying to get super precise, and stop this, you know, growth that's not happening here. If we like agreed right at the outset before we even got into the discussion of the details, that city is not exploding outward, and let's shape our regulations that way, it would almost frame the discussion before we start it, and then we don't end up doing this weird things.
You know, I think that we could have, and this is something the manager does very, very well, he facilitates the meeting very well. So maybe he could offer that guidance during our workshop, keep us on task.
And the initial goal is to loosen up some of the areas and to allow Caribou to grow.
Correct.
And we're not,
Yeah. And that follows the vision, so this is all tied into that. Like, that's the purpose of redoing it, I think, initially when it was started.
if we don't hurry up and get this done, we'll
We're
go
gonna have a
back
new
planning
vision.
new
That's
vision.
the,
I'm gonna start
that's the
calling
concern.
myself an old man.
Because
It's a
at the end of the
comprehensive
year,
plan.
10 years, right?
we're gonna start thinking of doing the update for our comprehensive plan.
See?
That happens every
Oh.
5 years.
5 years, yeah. So that's the.
Warn me before that starts. I'm out of here.
No, no, tap it out. You're a veteran, DJ.
Okay.
I like what Matt said. Structured. This is what we got to do. This is what we're going to focus on. We're 45. We're 65. We're 75. We're almost there. Let's get it done. And like Todd said, I think that's what we need to do. So if we, you know, I don't want to say setting a superficial deadline is going to be
No,
not beneficial.
it's just that we haven't made any substantial progress in many months now, and we need to get back on.
That's exactly it, and I think we just need to
by December, do something.
Very good, that's our goal.
All right. Good meeting. Thank you all for coming on a July night.
Make a motion to
Meeting is
adjourn.
adjourned.
Second.
Microphone's off.